Uhuru Kenyatta, born October 26, 1961, Nairobi, Kenya, President of Kenya from 2013. The son of Jomo Kenyatta, Kenya's first president, he was born into a wealthy and politically powerful Kikuyu family and found success as a businessman before entering politics. Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi appointed him to positions in government agencies before nominating him in 2001 to fill a parliament seat. In 2002 Kenyatta was elected as one of 4 vice-chairs of the ruling party, Kenya African National Union, KANU, and he was chosen to be the KANU candidate in Kenya's presidential election held later that year. He was defeated by Mwai Kibaki. During Kibaki's second term, Kenyatta served as Deputy Prime Minister, 2008-13, Minister of Trade, 2008, and Minister of Finance, 2009-12. He became chairman of KANU in 2005 but left the party in 2012 and formed the National Alliance, TNA. Later that year TNA joined the Jubilee Coalition, and he became the group's candidate in Kenya's 2013 presidential election, which he won. At the time of his victory, he faced charges at the International Criminal Court in connection with post-election violence that occurred after the 2007 presidential election. The charges were dropped in 2014, and the case proceedings were terminated the next year. Kenyatta was re-elected in August 2017, but his victory was overturned the next month by the Supreme Court, which invalidated the results of the election and ordered a new one. Although Kenyatta won that election as well, his victory was marred by the withdrawal of his main challenger and the subsequent boycott of the poll by his challenger's supporters, which contributed to a poor turnout. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta CGH, born October 26, 1961, is a Kenyan politician who served as the 4th president of Kenya from 2013 to 2022. Daniel Arap Moi had picked Kenyatta as his preferred successor. Uhuru Kenyatta, however, was defeated by the then opposition leader Mwai Kibaki in the 2002 election, and Kibaki was subsequently sworn in as the president. Kenyatta served as the Member of Parliament, MP, for Gatundu South from 2002 to 2013. He also served as Deputy Prime Minister to Raila Odinga from 2008 to 2013. Currently, he is the member and the party leader of the Jubilee Party of Kenya, whose popularity has since dwindled. Kenyatta was previously associated with the Kenya African National Union, KANU, before founding the National Alliance, TNA, one of the allied parties that campaigned for his election during the 2013 election and later on went to form a merger with the United Republican Party, URP, led by William Ruto to form the Jubilee Party. Kenyatta is the son of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, Kenya's first president, and his 4th wife Mama Ngina Kenyatta. He has been married to Margaret Kikuyu Kenyatta since 1991. They have 3 children, the 2 sons, Jomo and Muhoho, and a daughter called Ngina Kenyatta. Kenyatta was re-elected for a second and final term in the August 2017 general elections, winning 54% of the popular vote. The win was formally declared on national television by the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, Wafula Chebukati. However, Uhuru's election was challenged in the Supreme Court of Kenya by his main competitor, Raila Odinga. On September 1, 2017, the court declared the election invalid and ordered a new presidential election to take place within 60 days from the day of the ruling. A new presidential election was held on October 26, which he won, with 39.03% electoral voter participation. Uhuru Kenyatta was born on October 26, 1961, to the first president of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, and his 4th wife, Mama Ngina Kenyatta, née Muhoho. The second born in the family, he has 2 sisters, Christine, born 1953, Anna Nyokabi, born 1963, and a brother, Muhoho Kenyatta, born 1965. His family hails from the Kikuyu, a Bantu ethnic group. His given name Uhuru is from the Swahili term for freedom and was given to him in anticipation of Kenya's upcoming independence. Uhuru attended St. Mary's School in Nairobi. Between 1979 and 1980, he also briefly worked as a teller at the Kenya Commercial Bank. After attending St. Mary's School, Uhuru went on to study economics, political science, and government at Amherst College in the United States. Upon his graduation, Uhuru returned to Kenya, and started a company, Willem Kenya Limited, through which he sourced and exported agricultural produce. Uhuru was nominated to Parliament in 2001, he then became the Minister for Local Government under President Daniel Arap Moi and, despite his political inexperience, was favoured by Moi as his successor. Kenyatta ran as KANU's candidate in the December 2002 presidential election, but lost to the opposition candidate Mwai Kibaki by a big margin. He subsequently became leader of the opposition in parliament. He backed Hon. Mwai Kibaki for re-election in the December 2007 presidential election and was named Minister of Local Government by former President Mwai Kibaki in January 2008, before being appointed as the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Trade in April 2008 as part of the new coalition government. Subsequently, Uhuru Kenyatta was Minister of Finance from 2009 to 2012 while remaining Deputy Prime Minister. Accused by the International Criminal Court, ICC, of committing crimes against humanity in relation to the violent aftermath of the 2007 election, he resigned as Minister of Finance on January 26, 2012. He was elected as President of Kenya in the March 2013 presidential election, defeating Raila Odinga with a slim majority in a single round of voting. In the 1997 general election, Uhuru Kenyatta contested for the Gatundu South constituency parliamentary seat, once held by his father, but lost to Moses Mwai, a Nairobi architect. In 1999, Moi appointed Uhuru to chair the Kenya Tourism Board, a government parastatal. In 2001, he was nominated as a Member of Parliament, and he joined the cabinet as Minister for Local Government. He would also later be elected first Vice Chairman of KANU. In the nomination process in 2002 in what was widely thought as undemocratic and underhand, Moi influenced Uhuru Kenyatta's nomination as KANU's preferred presidential candidate, sparking an outcry from other interested contenders and a massive exit from the party ensued. This move by the late President Moi was seen as a ploy to install Uhuru as a puppet so that even in retirement, Moi would still rule the country through Uhuru and presumably insulate himself against the numerous charges of abuse of office that plagued his presidency. Uhuru finished second to Mwai Kibaki in the general elections, with 31% of the vote. He conceded defeat and took up an active leadership role as leader of the opposition. In January 2005, Uhuru Kenyatta defeated Nicholas Biwott for chairmanship of KANU, taking 2,980 votes among party delegates against Biwott's 622 votes. Uhuru led his party KANU in the referendum campaigns against the draft constitution in 2005, having teamed up with the Liberal Democratic Party, a rebel faction in the Kibaki government, to form the Orange Democratic Movement. The result of this was a vote against the adoption of the draft constitution by a noticeable margin, which was a great political embarrassment to Emilio Mwai Kibaki. In November 2006, Kenyatta was displaced as KANU leader by the late Nicholas Biwott. On December 28, 2006, the High Court of Kenya reinstated Uhuru Kenyatta as KANU chairman. However, further court proceedings followed. On June 28, 2007, the High Court confirmed Kenyatta as party leader, ruling that there was insufficient evidence for Biwott's argument that Kenyatta had joined another party. In the run-up to the 2007 general election, he led KANU to join a coalition, called Party of National Unity (PNU), with President Mwai Kibaki who was running for a second term against Raila Odinga. PNU won the controversial 2007 elections, but the dispute over the poll resulted in the 2007-08 Kenyan crisis. Under an agreement between the two parties to end the chaos, Kibaki remained as president in a power-sharing agreement with Raila as prime minister, while Uhuru Kenyatta was Kibaki's choice as deputy prime minister and minister for finance in his share of cabinet slots. On September 13, 2007, Uhuru Kenyatta withdrew from the December 2007 presidential election in favor of Kibaki for re-election. He said that he did not want to run unless he could be sure of winning. Following the election, amidst the controversy that resulted when Kibaki was declared the victor despite claims of fraud from challenger Raila Odinga and his Orange Democratic Movement, Kibaki appointed Kenyatta as Minister for Local Government on January 8, 2008. After Kibaki and Odinga reached a power-sharing agreement, Kenyatta was named Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Trade on April 13, 2008, as part of the Grand Coalition Cabinet. He was the Deputy Prime Minister representing the PNU, while another Deputy Prime Minister, Musalia Mudavadi, represented the ODM. Kenyatta and the rest of the cabinet were sworn in on April 17. Uhuru Kenyatta was later moved from local government and appointed Minister for Finance on January 23, 2009. During his tenure, he spearheaded a number of reform measures that changed how Treasury and government by extension transact business, such as the Integrated Financial Management Information System, IFMIS, and a fund for the inclusion of the informal sector in the mainstream economy. In 2013, Uhuru Kenyatta was elected as the fourth president of Kenya under the National Alliance, TNA, which was part of the Jubilee Alliance with his running mate William Ruto's United Republican Party, URP. Uhuru and Ruto won 50.07% of votes cast, with closest rivals, Raila Odinga and running mate Kalonzo Musyoka of the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy garnering 42%. Raila Amolo Odinga disputed the election results at the Supreme Court, which however held, 7-0, that the election of Uhuru was valid and such irregularities as existed did not make a difference to the final outcome. Uhuru Kenyatta was therefore sworn in as president on April 9, 2013. Uhuru ran for president in the elections held on March 4, 2013 and garnered 6,173,433 votes, 50.03%, out of the 12,338,667 votes cast. As this was above the 50% plus one vote threshold, he won the election in the first round, thus evading a runoff between the top two candidates. He was, therefore, declared the fourth President of the Republic of Kenya by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. According to the IEBC, Raila Odinga garnered 5,340,546 votes, 43.4%, and was thus the second in the field of 8 candidates. CORD, under the leadership of presidential candidate Raila Odinga, lodged a petition with the Supreme Court of Kenya on March 10, 2013 challenging Uhuru's election. On March 30, 2013, Dr. Willie Mudunga, the Chief Justice of Kenya, read the unanimous Supreme Court ruling declaring the election of Uhuru Kenyatta and his running mate, William Ruto, as valid. On August 11, 2017, the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, announced Uhuru's re-election to a second term in office during the 2017 Kenyan general election, with 54% of the popular vote. This was later contested in court and annulled. Annulment, a second election was required in which Uhuru Kenyatta won with 98% of the vote with a 39% voter turnout. On March 9, 2018, Uhuru Kenyatta agreed on a truce between the opposition leader, Raila Odinga. This action marked the country's watershed moment that redrew its political architecture. On November 27, 2019, Uhuru Kenyatta launched the Building Bridges Initiatives, BBI, in Bomas of Kenya. This is one of the outcomes as a result of the truce with the opposition leader Raila Odinga, as its implementations will foresee some amendments in the Kenyan constitution. Prior to him becoming president, Kenyatta was named as a suspect of crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court, ICC, Prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo, for planning and funding violence in Naivasha and Nakuru. This was in relation to the violence that followed the bungled national elections of December 2007. In furtherance of his political support for Kibaki's PNU at the time, he was accused of organizing a Kikuyu politico-religious group, the Mungiki, in the post-election violence. Overall, the post-election violence of 2007 is said to have claimed about 1,300 lives. Uhuru maintained his innocence and wanted his name cleared. On March 8, 2011, while serving as minister in Kibaki's government, he was indicted after being summoned to appear before the ICC pre-trial chamber. He was to appear at The Hague on April 8, 2011 alongside 5 other suspects. On September 29, 2011, while seeking to exonerate himself, Uhuru Kenyatta put up a spirited fight as he was being cross-examined by ICC Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo in The Hague, denying any links with the outlawed Mungiki sect. He said Prime Minister Raila Odinga should take political responsibility for the acts of violence and killings that followed the 2007 presidential elections in Kenya. He told the 3 judges that by telling his supporters election results were being rigged, fanned tensions and then failed to use his influence to quell the violence that followed the announcement of the 2007 presidential results. Though Uhuru had previously dismissed ICC summons, he changed his decision along the way. Together with his 2 other co-accused suspects, Head of Civil Service, Ambassador Francis Muthora and former Police Commissioner Hussein Ali, the trio honored the ICC summons that sought to determine whether their cases met the set standards for international trials. On January 23, 2012, the ICC confirmed the cases against Kenyatta and Muthora, although the charges against Muthora were subsequently dropped. Serious concerns about the case have been raised, particularly the nature of the evidence being used against Kenyatta. There are also serious concerns about witness tampering, and indeed, a number of witnesses have disappeared or died, which is the reason cited by the ICC for dropping charges against Muthora. On a October 12, 2013 speech to the African Union in which he set a belligerent tone, Uhuru accused the ICC of being a toy of declining imperial powers. On October 31, 2013, the ICC postponed Kenyatta's trial for crimes against humanity by 3 months until February 5, 2014 after the defense had requested more time. On October 8, 2014, Kenyatta appeared before the ICC in The Hague. He was called to appear at the ICC status conference when the prosecution said evidence needed to go ahead with the trial was being withheld. In a speech to the Kenyan Parliament, Kenyatta said that he was going to The Hague in a personal capacity, not as president of the country, so as not to compromise the sovereignty of Kenyans. Kenyatta did not speak in court, but denied the charges in comments to journalists as he left the court to catch a flight back home. "We as Kenyans, we know where we came from, we know where we are going, and nobody will tell us what to do," he said. The judges adjourned the hearings and charges were dropped on March 13, 2015. On May 20, 2012, Uhuru Kenyatta attended the elaborately assembled and much publicized launch of the National Alliance Party in a modern high-tech dome at the Kenyatta International Conference Center. His presence at the TNA launch was a strong indication that he would contest for the party's presidential nomination ticket in his quest for the presidency in the 2013 general elections. The Justice and Constitutional Affairs Minister Eugene Wamalwa and Eldoret North constituency MP William Ruto led more than 70 MPs in attending the function. The Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, Abdi Ramadhan, Cabinet Ministers Mohammed Yusuf Haji, Jamlek Irungu Kamau, Dr. Naomi Shaban, Samuel Pagisio, Professor Sam Anjuri and Dr. Mohammed Kudi, and MPs Charles Cheruyat Keter, Aden Berdul and Mohammed Malam Mohamed also attended the event. Speeches at the launch revolved around the need for a thriving economy, the need for the rights of people of all classes in society to be championed, the need for peaceful coexistence, the need for visionary and committed leadership, the need for transformative leadership, the need for a youthful crop of committed professionals in leadership, the need for free and fair nomination and election processes in the general election, the need for an economically empowered youth, and a call to bring an end to divisive and sectarian interests in politics to safeguard Kenya from sliding to dictatorship. Machel Wakenda was the Director of Communications and Secretary of Arts and Entertainment of the National Alliance, from April 2012 to August 2013, and he led the Media and Communications Department of the party during the 2013 elections. On September 17, 2012, the National Alliance Party had its first real test when it contested various civic and parliamentary positions in a by-election that covered 17 seats in total, 3 parliamentary and 14 civic. Overall, 133,054 votes were cast in the by-elections, and TNA led the pack after it garnered 38.89% or 51,878 votes, followed by Orange Democratic Movement with 33.7% or 44,837 votes, Party of National Unity with 4.46% or 5,929 votes, Wiper Democratic Movement with 4.44% or 5,912 votes, and United Democratic Forum with 4.15% or 5,520 votes. TNA won civic and parliamentary seats in 7 different counties, while its closest challengers, ODM, won seats in 4 counties. The National Alliance Party remained a strong contender for the following year's general elections, having received major defections from other big political parties of Kenya. The successful election of TNA's main candidates, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, continued to enhance TNA's viability. In January 2013, however, TNA merged with URP to form the Jubilee Alliance Party, JAP. Uhuru Kenyatta's party, the National Alliance, TNA, joined William Ruto's United Republican Party, URP, Najib Balala's Republican Congress Party, RCP, and Charity Ngilu's National Rainbow Coalition Party to form the Jubilee Alliance Coalition. Various opinion polls prior to the election placed Uhuru as one of the main contenders, and his Jubilee Alliance as among the most popular. The other formidable coalition was the Coalition for Reform and Democracy, CORD, led by Raila Odinga. In undercover video footage, released in a BBC News report on March 19, 2018, the managing director of Cambridge Analytica, a political consultancy that worked to elect Donald Trump in the 2016 American presidential election, boasted that his firm had run successful presidential election campaigns in Kenya in 2013 and 2017, though he did not name Kenyatta explicitly. "We have rebranded the entire party twice, written the manifesto, done research, analysis, messaging," Turnbull said, of the campaigns that his company managed in Kenya. "I think we wrote all the speeches, and we staged the whole thing, so just about every element of this candidate." A Jubilee Party vice president admitted on March 20, 2018, that the party had hired an affiliate of Cambridge Analytica for branding in the 2017 election. Uhuru Kenyatta was officially declared the president-elect on Saturday, March 9 at 2:44 p.m. As per the IEBC's official results, Uhuru got 6,173,433 of the 12,221,053 valid votes cast, ahead of the second-placed Raila Odinga, who garnered 5,340,546, 43.7%. Uhuru's result was 50.51% of the vote and was above the 50% plus 1 vote threshold set out in the 2010 Constitution, thus making him the president-elect. There was some discontent with the official results, as would be expected in such a hotly contested election, especially in Raila Odinga's strongholds. The inordinate delay in releasing the results and the technical failure of some safeguards and election equipment deployed by the IEBC did not help the perception that the election had been less than free and fair. Further, an exit poll conducted by UCSD Professor Clark Gibson and James Long, Assistant professor and University of Washington suggested that neither Odinga nor Kenyatta had attained the 50% plus one vote threshold. Analysts have contended that even though elections for 5 other levels were held in Kenya at the same time, their national turnout levels and total vote tallies were about 16% less than the presidential total, e.g. while 10.6 million voters elected candidates for member of the National Assembly, the Senate, and the 47 gubernatorial seats, almost 2 million more voted in the presidential election. This has fueled concern and speculations of vote manipulation in President Kenyatta's favor. 2 groups disputed these results and filed petitions challenging various aspects of it at the Supreme Court of Kenya to contest the result. The groups were the Coalition for Reform and Democracy, CORD, led by Raila Odinga, and the Africa Center for Open Governance, AFRICOG. Uhuru Kenyatta and his running mate were respondents in these cases and were represented by Fred Ngasha and Katwe Kajan respectively. The Supreme Court judges unanimously upheld the election of Uhuru Kenyatta as Kenya's 4th president after rejecting Raila Odinga's petition in a verdict delivered on Saturday, March 30, 2013. Chief Justice Willie Mutunga in his ruling said the elections were indeed conducted in compliance with the Constitution and the law. At the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Nairobi, in accordance to Article 141, 2b, of the Constitution, which stipulates that in case the Supreme Court upholds the victory of the President-elect, the swearing-in will take place on the first Tuesday following the 7th day following the date on which the court renders a decision declaring the election to be valid. During his inaugural speech, Uhuru promised economic transformation through Vision 2030, unity among all Kenyans, free maternal care, and that he will serve all Kenyans. He also promised to improve the standards of education in Kenya. During the Madaraka Day celebrations, a national holiday celebrated to the country's independence on June 1, President Uhuru Kenyatta announced free maternal care in all public health facilities, a move that was welcomed by many Kenyans. On September 1, 2017, the Supreme Court of Kenya nullified the re-election of Uhuru Kenyatta after the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, had announced him the winner on August 8, 2017. As a result of that, there was a need for the election to be held once again. It was scheduled for October 26, 2017. After the re-election, Uhuru Kenyatta emerged the winner once again. He was sworn in on November 28, 2017 for his 2nd presidential term. In 2021, drought is again taking its toll. According to the UN, more than 465,000 children under the age of 5 are malnourished. Food insecurity affects more than 2.5 million people in the country. Uhuru Kenyatta speaks of a national disaster. However, he is criticized for the slow humanitarian response and lack of planning. The Mukurukwa Enjinga slum in Nairobi is being razed in October 2021 to make way for the widening of a road, leaving 40,000 people homeless overnight, with no offer of alternative accommodation. The major challenges his administration faced included high cost of living, rising public debt, a high public wage bill, and allegations of corruption among people within his government. The 2017 general election and its violence is also a challenge that threatened not only his presidency but also the future of the East African nation. As the president, Kenyatta's foreign relations were dominated by the ICC question. His relations with the West were expected to be cold, more so after the West warned Kenyans not to elect him as president. The United Kingdom promised to have only essential contacts with him if he were elected. However, his relationship with the West thawed significantly and he participated in the US-Africa Summit as well as a Somalia Summit in the United Kingdom. The ICC accused his government of frustrating its investigation efforts into the case, although it absolved the president personally of any involvement in the frustration. His activities, however, were more robust at the African level where he has pushed more intra-Africa trade and economic independence of African nations. In November 2014, he launched consultations to reform the United Nations Security Council to expand the voice of Africa in the council. he successfully rallied the O against the ICC, culminating in an extraordinary summit of the African heads of state which resolved that sitting African heads of state should not appear before the ICC. The O further asked the Security Council to suspend his trial at the ICC. For the first time ever, the Security Council resolution was defeated by abstention, with 9 members of the council abstaining rather than voting against so as not to offend Kenyatta. The Assembly of State Parties of the ICC would 2 days later amend the ICC statute to allow for one to appear by video link, a proposal President Kenyatta had made when he was Deputy Prime Minister. Kenyatta led and negotiated peace agreements in South Sudan and in Democratic Republic of Congo. At the East African level, he developed a close relationship with the Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and Rwanda President Paul Kagame, creating the Coalition of the Willing, a caucus within the EAC that has signed on to more joint development and economic agreements than the other EAC partners, including a joint tourist visa. He attended the funeral of Nelson Mandela and was received warmly by the crowds. He also attended the funeral of President Michael Sata of Zambia in November 2014. However, it had been perceived that his administration's relations with Botswana were strained due to Botswana's support of the ICC process. He visited Botswana to remove this perception, and Botswana voted in favor of the O's ICC resolution. As expected, his government had closer ties with China, which was funding most of his infrastructure projects. In November 2020, it was noted that he was the most traveled Kenyan president compared to his predecessors. One of the leading national newspapers noted that Uhuru Kenyatta had been out of the country 43 times as of November 2015, in a period of about 3 years since he took office in 2013, as compared to 33 times over a span of 10 years by his predecessor Mwai Kibaki. The president's Strategic Communications Unit came out in defense of these trips, stating that these trips had yielded more than what it cost the taxpayers to finance them. Some of his awards: 2013, Youngest Kenyan President, Guinness World Records. 2015, Africa's President of the Year 2014 to 2015, African Union. 2015, ICE in Sustainable Development Award, International Telecommunication Union. 2017, Most Severe Plastic Bag Penalty, Guinness World Records. 2017, Mandela Peace Prize, Mandela Institute of Paris. 2018, Babacar Ndiaye Award, Africa Road Builders. 2018, World First Blue Economy Conference Award, African Union Commission. 2019, Political Leadership Award for Universal Health Coverage, African Union Access Challenge. 2022, African Gender Award, African Union. Thank you for watching this video.